All right, well, I've got the receiver as good as I want to get it. I don't want to have one part of the gun looking a lot better than the other. So you can still see some pitting, some scratches, but it's smoothed out. The barrel, same thing. You can see some pitting, some scratches. It was a $10 gun. You can't expect a whole lot for 10 bucks nowadays. So I'm going to start with the black on here, black on there, and I'm going to go back and forth, see how it polishes. When it comes to polishing, you want the different rouges. Take your time. Don't wear gloves because you don't want them to get caught in the grinder. My policy is never wear gloves with rotating equipment. I'll take a cut rather than having my hand pulled into a piece of machinery. Safety goggles. This does get kind of dusty. You might want a dust mask. I'm not bothering with one for this. Spent too much time in masks lately, but here we go. And always remember, when you're using the black polishing rouge, don't expect it to get nice and shiny. You're still cutting with the black one. And on any edges, don't dig that edge right in. You're going to wear out your wheel, and you can round off those crisp edges if you've still got. You are going to have to get it close to edges, but avoid it where you can. Not looking too bad. It's not looking too good, but it's not looking too bad. And now I'm just going to step up to the red rouge. I'm going to finish off with the red on the lighter wheel. All right, so after that messy business, I'm going to get a couple of my cotton pads out. This is just flour, all-purpose flour. And it really does help take those, the rouge marks, the black marks left, and just polish those out beautifully. And doesn't leave any residue. That's just the rouge that's left. We'll still want to wipe this down with brake clean, but the rouge just seems to smear with the brake clean. So this, polish it off gently. And then the brake clean is to get all your fingerprints and everything off of it so you can take the cold blue to it. As I know I've mentioned before, unless you really know what you're doing and what type of metal, case hardened, tempered, annealed, until you know what you're doing with the metal, use the cold blue. You don't want to change the temper of your metal. And again, if you want to read up on it, I have a bit, and there are some guns that I am going to do hot caustic bluing on. This was patented in 1900. As far as the exact, it's just not worth it to me. This isn't one I'm looking to throw in the safe and keep forever. This is a cheap auction buy. spend a couple hours cleaning her up, making it look nice, and throwing it up for sale, seeing if somebody wants a $100 shotgun. I enjoy doing the work more than trying to make a profit. You're not gonna feed yourself making $100 a gun. All right, well, I'm gonna clean up this mess again, and then I will be cold bluing this. So just make sure wipe it down with some brake clean or some rubbing alcohol, something that doesn't leave any residue, and make sure you don't contaminate your bluing material. Okay, see you in a few minutes. I'm gonna clean this up and be right back. I've got it all wiped down now, just with some brake clean. Let it dry. Got my little cup I use for my super blue cleaned out. And I'm sure I'm going to be repeating myself to some of you guys, but never dip into the bottle. Pour it into a separate cup and throw out what you don't use, or just use it up. I put too much in there, but once it's in, it's in. Dollar store foam brushes work great for this stuff. And look how quickly and nicely that works on here. I was looking at the barrel. I got home from work today and not as happy with it as I was last night. So I'm going to give it a bit of a cleanup. I'm going to let this sit for a minute or two. I forget what the instructions say. Yeah, I was right, 30 seconds. But I'm not going to rinse with cold water. I'm going to give it a rub down. This is how I was doing that double barrel. If you haven't watched that video, I have watched that. I did the video. Can't talk today. If you haven't seen the video on my double barrel, it turned out really quite nicely, actually. A lot nicer than I was expecting. Give it a minute or two and recoat again because it looks like crap. A little patchy. So the metal is a little on the cold side. That could have something to do with it. The double barrel turned out beautifully, and I mean, it was nice and warm in here that day. So just a spray down with some WD-40. It's gonna sit for a while, so it's handy and it gets rid of the water. Okay, well, that's gonna sit for now. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad, actually. Not sure how well you can see the name there. So, it's definitely not a perfect job. Like I said, wasn't going for perfect. With the barrel, what I would have liked to do is stick it on the lathe and polish it on there. get all the deep scratches out, maybe even do a light cut, take a few thou off. But I just picked up the lathe, what was it, 2 days ago. And it's not even set up yet. And I don't have a chuck that fits it, so. You know, I could put every project on hold until everything's perfect, but you know what? That's how you end up with a pile of projects. I've been there already. I'm going to do another coat on the barrel. It's going to be the exact same procedure as I did before. Degrease, blue, wipe, degrease, blue, wipe. That's it. Or wash, whichever works for you. And after that's done, all these little bits here. Thinking about picking up an ultrasonic parts cleaner. I don't know if I'm going to bother for this time. I might just clean these all up by hand. That's just the internal parts for the gun. Spring, hammer, trigger, all that. And once that's done and everything's blued, same fashion, I'm going to come back to the butt, which is in at least 2 pieces. Probably by the time I get done cleaning it, it's probably going to be in 6 or 8 pieces. And look what I just did. So, but I'm going to glue all these little bits back together, clamp it, let it set, fill everything with wood filler, and then give it a good sand down. Gonna make a butt plate for it. So pretty much every single part of this gun will be touched by the time I'm done with it. There's not one screw, one washer, one spring that hasn't been taken apart, cleaned. Hey, when you have to take the actual butt apart and fix it, you know you're doing some pretty bigger projects. If you are inexperienced with guns, inexperienced with any project, I always advise people, pick up a cheap one like this. Exactly. But pick up a cheap project gun, $10. And if you screw it up, it doesn't matter. It'll look better than it did before. Follow some basics. You know, don't go with 80 grit sandpaper on the barrel unless you've got the grits and polishing ability to get those marks out. That's virtually grinding at that point. And if the barrel's that bad, you might have to, but keep in mind you can weaken the barrel by taking off too much. If it's too pitted, there might not be enough left of it. But this was surface. Most of the stuff came out with sandpaper except for some scratches. But mess around with the cheap stuff. Like, cheap guns are lots of fun, and the worst thing you can do is turn it into a wall hanger that has a little story for you. Same with guitars. Pick up a $50 guitar and learn how to fix it, and if it doesn't go right, you can probably gut it to parts and sell it for what you paid, if not make a little bit.
Like, subscribe, and watch part 5.